The 2016 Aston Martin Rapide S. On paper, this is perhaps one of the most perfect four-door coupe exotic cars on the market. It's got a naturally aspirated V12, looks from every single angle that are just beautiful, and yet it does have a couple of imperfections, but anyone who buys one is simply not going to care about them. I'm Jay, and welcome to the latest episode of Car Buzz Unboxing Reviews. Now, before I get started, I also want to thank Los Gatos Luxury Cars for letting Car Buzz come on down and film this Rapide S for you today. So, I want to give you a little bit of Aston Martin Rapide history. Now, it was first launched back in 2010. It was simply known as the Rapide. The S part came when it was facelifted in 2013. And why did they add the S to, make it Rapide S? Well, they upgraded the naturally aspirated V12 engine, and I'll talk about that very shortly. And you got to think of the Aston Martin Rapide S as essentially a stretched DB9 or Vanquish. Same engine, same platform. And the interior, it is unquestionably, unmistakably Aston Martin. Looks great, but it also has some imperfections that, compared to other cars in this class, kind of set it back. But again, it looks so great, I don't think anyone's going to care. But let's start it up first and foremost, because it's a naturally aspirated V12. And what you just heard was a 6-liter V12 with 552 horsepower and 457 pound-feet of torque. It's paired to a ZF 8-speed automatic with a manual shifting mode. And what's interesting is that Aston Martin actually added this new transmission just in 2014. And this new 8-speed unit, it's actually 9 pounds lighter than the car's previous 6-speed automatic. Cool. And of course, power is sent to the rear wheels, and like I was mentioning, this is the same 6-liter naturally aspirated V12 found in the Vanquish. There are no turbochargers, no superchargers, nothing. And unlike the brand new DB11, which was just revealed at Geneva last March, that car is now powered by a new twin-turbo 5.2-liter V12. Just to compare, it's got 600 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. This car has, again, 552 horsepower and 457 pound-feet. But the 6-liter V12, if you follow Aston Martin at all, you'll know this company has stuck with this engine for a number of years, and sadly, it's going to be discontinued probably very soon. Again, that new twin-turbo in the DB11, the twin-turbo V12, rather, it is going to replace the 6-liter V12. Why? Because fuel emissions. Now, performance, this car is going to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.7 seconds, 0 to 100 miles per hour in 10.6 seconds, and it'll do the quarter mile in 13.1 seconds at 111 miles per hour. Top speed, about 190 miles per hour. So you're going to go fast in this thing no matter what. And just to compare, the Porsche Panamera Turbo S, that will go to 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.3 seconds. But then again, that Panamera is turbocharged. This is not. But this interior, as you can see, beautiful. They call this all bronze metallic leather. And everything here is hand-stitched, coach build style, Aston Martin goodness everywhere. Now, some of the features in this car, it has nearly $40,000 worth, this particular Rapide S, such as a Bang & Olufsen audio system, $8,330 for that. The ventilated seats, $1,600. Contrast stitching, $570. The headrest embroidery alone, that is $750. But of course, the rear seat passengers are also treated very, very well. Rear seat entertainment system. You literally have a table in between the two rear seats. It's just a great place to be. Now, as you can probably see, there's not much space, and that is correct. It's one of the disadvantages to the Rapide S. Listen, they stretch the platform of a DB9. What can you do? Fortunately, front seat passengers have more space, but in my opinion, the front seat passenger, that's the worst place to be in this car. Because, alright, if you're the driver, you're driving 552 horsepower in a naturally aspirated V12. If you're one of the rear seat occupants, look what you're being treated to. So, in my opinion, if you're going to be in this car, either be driving or be in the rear seat. And what's kind of interesting is that the Rapide S, it's actually the best-selling Aston Martin in China right now. And yet the people who buy them there, of course, they don't want to drive them. They want to be chauffeured around in them. And which is kind of weird considering these rich Chinese people, they prefer Mercedes-Benz S-Classes, BMW 7 Series that are both bigger than this, but neither of those cars look like this. In the interior, I really like a lot of things going on here. You have these glass buttons right there, like with the transmission settings right there. You can just press the button, you're in the different gear. It's a nice touch, but the ergonomics of the dashboard, they're not easy to figure out. The buttons are too small. They're just not placed very logically. And Aston Martin is fully aware of that, and there will be updates, probably not to the Rapide, but the rest of the Aston Martin lineup, beginning with the DB11, that's going to correct that. So, this infotainment screen here, yeah, it is small. It's literally, you looking at it, it's like a Game Boy screen, but in color. It's that small. And Aston Martin also readily acknowledges that, yes, this is a dated system, it's old, but if you look at the new DB11, just like the overall dash layout, you're seeing a lot of improvements going on. Remember, the Rapide S, it dates back to around 2010 when it was initially designed, and Aston Martin's come a long way since then. In fact, its new engines, like that twin-turbo V12, and a lot of the other technology associated with it, is coming from Mercedes AMG. Now, hopefully, some of the other things that Mercedes offers, such as its command infotainment system, will also find its way to future Aston Martins. But again, I do have to give Aston Martin credit. Interior quality is spectacular. If you've seen old Aston Martins, just like old Jaguars, 70s and 80s, there was a lot of questionable building quality thing going on. It wasn't very good, and this is obviously much better, but again, the overall flow of the dash and the button layout, it does need to be, it could be better. And in the beginning, when we were entering that key into the ignition, I do think that is the world's coolest key. It's crystal, it's embossed on one end with the Aston Martin logo on the other. And once again, you have a rotary dial controlling many of the trip computer's functions. Again, it works. But what also I noticed is that there's only one cup holder in the Rapide S. Basically, there just wasn't enough center console space for two. And speaking of center console space, there's not a lot of it, especially when compared to the competition, mainly the Porsche Panamera. Now, the Porsche Panamera I'm referring to here is the first generation. Of course, the second generation is about to be revealed, its live reveal rather, at the Paris Motor Show for 2016. And honestly, Porsche has done a better job with the Panamera's interior than Aston Martin has done for the Rapide S's. However, the Porsche Panamera, again, first generation, to me, it's always looked kind of like a humpback whale towing a gorilla. I mean, it just looks frumpy looking. And the reason being is that the former Porsche CEO, he's not there anymore. He was about 6'4", 6'5", and he told Porsche designers, look it, I want to be able to fit comfortably in the rear seat. Now, when Aston Martin was designing the Rapide and subsequently the Rapide S, no such order was given. The CEO, Ulrich Bez, well, he's not there anymore, He didn't tell designers, look I want to be able to fit in the rear seat with absolute comfort. He told designers, make the Rapide S stunningly beautiful inside and out, and that's exactly what they did. But from the actual driver's seat, the driving position is good. You can adjust the seat just fine. And how does the Rapide S drive? In one word, beautifully. There's a standard drive mode and the drive sport mode. But they did a new software update that includes what's called adaptive drive recognition, and it adjusts the shift points in standard drive mode to your driving style. So a more aggressive driver will feel a difference even when not in sport mode. So basically, the car is constantly collecting data once you start the engine, and it just learns your driving style. And Aston Martin also updated the engine management system with a carbon fiber drive shaft that increases power transmitted to the rear wheels. In terms of safety, you're going to get all the typical things: ABS brakes, dynamic stability control, traction control, emergency brake system, front airbags, side airbags, and a tire pressure monitoring system. The works. So let's talk pricing here. Now, a base Aston Martin Rapide S is going to have a sticker price of $206,000. And this car has, like I mentioned earlier, nearly $40,000 worth of options, including a gas guzzler tax of $1,000 and a handling fee of $3,000. So this car costs $245,543 all in. Yeah, it's $250,000 four-door exotic sedan, but it looks great. Yes, the visibility, especially in the rear, well, it's not good. It's difficult, but again, I think a car like this, its imperfections are what helps to make it perfect in a way. That naturally aspirated V12, in my eyes, it gets, or my ears rather, it gets rid of all these cars' imperfections, such as the bad rear visibility. And cargo space, yeah, it's sufficient enough for most people's purposes. You can get your suitcases in here, your golf club bags, whatever. But what's kind of sad is I don't know how much longer the Rapide S is going to be around, because we've already learned that Aston Martin is working on a crossover which, without question, is being targeted to those Chinese buyers who are already being chauffeured around in the Rapide S. And right now, crossovers, especially luxury crossovers, are really hot. Lamborghini is working on one, as we speak. It makes complete sense for Aston Martin to do the same thing. I just don't know if the Rapide S is going to survive that crossover reveal. But just looking at this exterior, I can't find a single thing wrong with it. This car is painted Stratus white. It's got 20-inch 10-spoke wheels. Those cost an extra $3,800. The black brake calipers alone are $1,600. So what's some of the competition? As I already mentioned, you have the Porsche Panamera, specifically the Turbo S. If you're also looking for exotic British luxury, you also have the Rolls-Royce Ghost, around $300,000. The Bentley Flying Spur, between $200,000 and $230,000. The Bentley Mulsanne Speed, $340,000. But if you want to go to what the Germans offer, you have the Audi RS7, starts at about $110,000. Same goes for the Mercedes AMG CLS 63, and then there's the BMW M6 Grand Coupe for around $120,000. So this car, it's more expensive than those German cars, but it's much more rare. You're not going to see all that many Rapide S's around, because Aston Martin only builds around 4,000 or 5,000 cars a year at this point. Now, it's increasing production, but again, the Rapide S, it's rare and it's special because of that. And also a naturally aspirated 6-liter V12 engine, which is soon going to be extinct. And fuel economy, well, 14 miles per gallon in the city, 22 in the highway, and a combined 17. So, but I think people who buy this car, they can easily afford the premium fuel that this car requires. But look what you get in return. Exotic 4-door coupe luxury. Alright everyone, I'm out of time. Thanks for watching. Any more questions for me, leave them in the comment section below. Any suggestions for future reviews, also leave those in the comment section. And be sure to subscribe to the CarBuzz Unboxing YouTube channel. So until my next video, everyone, thanks for watching.